Welcome to Direct Talk. Our guest today is Masahiro Kato, president of furniture maker Tendo Mokko. The manufacturer specializes in bending plywood to create chairs and other furniture characterized by their distinct curves. It has collaborated with leading designers both at home and abroad, and the resulting pieces have garnered much acclaim. Curators overseas have noticed the artistic value of the products, and one of its pieces has been acquired by the French Louvre, as well as the Museum of Modern Art in New York. We asked Kato about what goes into the company's creative designs.
When it comes to furniture, beauty and functionality are the most important. It needs to be practical and durable enough to last for a long time. I believe our products bring together those characteristics in an all-round way.
Tendo Mokko is located in the city of Tendo in Yamagata Prefecture, 350 kilometers north of Tokyo. The company's 300 employees make its furniture pieces one by one, all by hand.
How can we make our chairs more comfortable? That's the kind of thing each of our employees thinks about as they go about their craft. That's why our customers are truly satisfied with the products they get. If you're not doing that, that's not honest furniture making. And I don't like to call our people employees. They're craftspeople. I much prefer the term craftspeople.
The company's showroom is lined with a range of furniture. Take these stools. The distinct form is comprised of 3 bent wooden boards. Or take this other chair. The elongated backrest features gentle curves. This chair was shaped out of a single wooden board. The curved wooden form looks almost as if it was made by folding paper.
The defining trait of our furniture is the fluid curves. Some designs are tied to a specific time or place, especially designs that adhere to trends. What we go for is different. Our designs are meant to last. They're long-term investments for our customers, so you need to have a certain knack for design to make that happen. As a furniture maker, that's always been important to us in our creative process.
How do the company's craftspeople shape wood into these beautiful curves? Their plywood molding process. Thin sheets or plies of wood are simultaneously bonded together and molded using a press.
In order to understand what molded plywood is, just look at the cross-section. You can see the sheets on top of one another, and you can see the wood grain. We mostly use Japanese beech. We glue together sheets of wood that are just a few millimeters thick. We put those sheets into a male-female mold and apply heat to harden the glue, while simultaneously applying pressure to bend the wood so it permanently changes shape.
We were given a demonstration of the expert craftsmanship involved in molding the plywood. These glued sheets will be shaped into a chair. The craftsperson positions the sheets in the press and uses the machine to apply pressure. If you apply too much pressure, the wood will start to crack. The craftsperson must pull the lever little by little, continually adjusting the amount of pressure as the plywood is bonded and shaped into a chair. The process takes about an hour.
There's craftsmanship involved in the molding process. When you're applying pressure using the press, the amount of pressure differs depending on whether it's a curved section or a flat section. The curvature is different too. So you need a craftsperson who understands those subtle differences. Those parts require skill and technique.
Tendo Moko was founded in 1940. It was originally a furniture manufacturers association started by local woodworkers. But Japan was in the midst of World War II. The company made military supplies.
We made ammunition boxes and things like that at first. Then we made decoy airplanes. We have Yamagata Airport in this region, so we set up decoy planes that couldn't fly. That way we could draw attacks away from private homes. The attack planes would go for the decoys, so we built them out of wood.
After the war, the company started to build furniture. At the time, they made household items like chabudai, short-legged Japanese tables. Then in 1947, a certain piece of machinery changed the company forever. The high-frequency oscillator, which generates a high-frequency electric signal that can be used to apply heat. This machine made it possible to bond sheets of wood together using heat and create molded plywood.
They were conducting demonstrations with the machine at a department store, and our factory manager just happened to come across it. And apparently, he had a flash of inspiration that if we had that machine, we could do a completely different kind of furniture making. So he set about convincing our president at the time, and his perseverance won him over. But they thought of it as more of a pet project for the factory manager, and the machine was a toy. But that was the beginning of our molded plywood.
The technology for crafting molded plywood allowed the company to make a stool in 1956 that would become its biggest hit up to that point. This is the stool. The curving silhouette, which is comprised of two molded plywood boards attached with metal fittings, is the work of a famous Japanese designer. The design garnered much acclaim, and the stool is now part of the permanent collections at both the Louvre and MoMA.
It's simple, but at the same time complex. The curvature is difficult to get right. You're not bending in one direction. You're bending as you're giving it a curve in another direction. If you don't apply the pressure just right, you get cracks. You have to get the boards into shape while being careful to keep them intact. The reason it became such a hit was the distinctly Japanese form, and also because our bending technique was highly praised abroad.
In the 1960s, the company developed a new technique that would lead to the creation of a new hit product. This is that chair. Look closely at the legs, and you can see a block of wood in the center of each. This piece has been inserted to reinforce the strength of the legs. Where did the idea come from?
Badminton rackets. Between the round head and the handle, you can see a piece of wood has been inserted in there. We applied that idea to furniture. The inserted reinforcement piece is solid wood. It's just been cut into a triangular shape. You insert the piece in the middle of the molding phase, after you've already started applying the pressure. It really strengthens the design. So in that sense, inserting reinforcement pieces like this is a big step forward for molded plywood. It's allowed us to make pieces in a variety of shapes.
In the 1980s, the company ventured into a new field. Interior trim for cars. It designed steering wheel and dashboard parts using molded plywood. The parts brought the warmth of real wood into car interiors.
Right now, most of the parts are printed. So how can we get customers to understand the value of the real thing and choose us when they have these fabricated alternatives? The finish is different from furniture because you really want to polish it up. That means the smallest imperfections or scratches stand out. The crucial steps are all done by hand.
For decades, Tendo Moko has used molded plywood to craft innovative designs, but the company is currently attempting something new. It's finding ways to make use of Japan's unique forest resources. Back in the 1960s, when the country needed to build housing at a wide scale, man-made forests were planted across the country. Specifically, Japanese cedar. Those man-made cedar forests are now reaching harvesting age.
Japanese cedar is a material that is unique to Japan. As a building material, it is superb. That's why they planted so many of them. But nowadays, imported lumber is cheaper, so people forgot about the Japanese cedar. No one wanted expensive domestic lumber. It was considered too soft for furniture. If you made a tabletop out of it and used it for writing, a pencil would leave marks. If we could overcome that softness and make it viable for use in furniture, people would see it in a different light.
In order to utilize the Japanese cedar, the company developed a new way to process the wood, which they call roll press. Thin sheets of cedar, around 3 millimeters thick, are compressed using rollers. The process reduces the thickness to about half. The denser sheets are thinner but stronger. These sheets are bonded together and molded into shape. The company has since used the scratch-resistant Japanese cedar to make a range of products.
Tables and chairs for local assemblies and assembly members. This here was also made using Japanese cedar. This is what we can do with it now. The bicycle was something we tried for fun, and it actually ended up working. You can ride it, and partly we make it as a way to demonstrate the extent of what we can do. It's been very well received, this bicycle that we made using our materials and machines. So we hope to establish Japanese cedar as a material that's unique to Japan. Spread the word that we can make high-quality, distinctly Japanese furniture using this material. Cheerfully, joyfully, spiritedly. This is how I approach work, always. The Japanese furniture industry right now is very competitive, very tough, but I intend to keep this approach and make things that only Tendo Moko can, things that can compete with furniture around the world. You'll never hear the furniture suddenly break into song, of course, but I believe this cheerful approach is what gives our furniture that special something.